Welcome to Chapter 1 of Creating or Joining Google Meetings. This video will provide you the various methods in which you are able to start or join a Google meeting. The first and easiest way to join or start a Google meeting is from your Gmail screen. You will notice on the left side of your Gmail screen, you will see a Meet icon. Click this icon and you will be immediately taken to the Google Meet screen. On this Google Meet screen, you will notice there are three options. The first is to create a new meeting. The second one is to join an existing meeting. It could be one that you also may have created. And the third option is to join a meeting that was created in your Google Calendar. The first option will allow you to create a meeting and go to it later, or create a meeting and immediately access the meeting room. Let's go ahead and discuss these three options. The first option, and obviously the most important when we are beginning, is to create a new meeting. Now this option will allow us to create a meeting room, receive the meeting room code, and either enter the meeting room or exit and join it later on. What is important in this case is that we make sure we copy the meeting room code so that if we are going to go into it at a later point in time, we have the code handy so that we may enter that room. Let's go ahead and take a look at these two options. Remember, after creating a meeting room, we can immediately enter the meeting room or join it later. Once we click New Meeting, a new window will appear. This window provides you with the meeting code, which is extremely important, and it gives you the ability to start the meeting immediately or send invite to participants. First and foremost, before you do anything, you should copy the meeting code into your clipboard and then save it in either a Word document or a notepad, somewhere you will have easy access to. Because if you are not starting the meeting now, you're going to need this code to join the meeting at a later point in time. Once you have copied the meeting code to your clipboard and have saved it in a retrievable location, you now can start your meeting or you can send invites. If you have elected to start your meeting, the meeting will appear on your screen. We will be discussing in Chapter 2 the elements and components of a Google Meet meeting room. For now, let us assume that your meeting is going to be held at a later point in time and you are going to either exit or send invites. If you exit from this screen, you just need to make sure you have copied the meeting room code so that you can distribute it to your participants at a later point in time. If you wish, you can also send invites to the participants at this point in time. And there are two options that will appear if you click Send Invite. The first option is Copy Meeting Invite. Merely copies the meeting information, including the room code, to your clipboard, which can then be subsequently entered into an email, can be entered into a Word document, or whatever the case may be. The second option, Share via email, is basically the same. The only difference is it will open up your email provider, for example, Gmail, and it will embed in the email the pertinent information. The decision on which of these two you desire is really up to you. It is purely cosmetic. You also can exit from the screen without clicking Send Invite so long as you've copied the meeting room code, which you then can distribute to participants at a later point in time. Option 2 on our Google Meet screen is to join a meeting. This can be a meeting that we have previously created and are now going to start, or it could be a meeting we have been invited to. In all cases, we must utilize the meeting code associated with this meeting to access the meeting room. To participate in a meeting you have previously created or in a meeting you have been invited to, click the Join with a Code option and you will be taken to a window that will prompt you for the code to enter the meeting. Enter the meeting code in the designated area and then click the enabled Join button on your screen. This will take you to the meeting room. The third option allows you to join a meeting that has been scheduled through Google Calendar. Locate the meeting you wish to join and click the Join button. This will take you to the specific meeting room for that meeting. Another approach to accessing the Google Meet screen is to type into our browser meet.google.com. This will bring us to the Google Meeting screen to create or join meetings. Enter the URL meet.google.com into your browser and proceed to the Google Meet website. This takes us to a slightly different Google Meet website. Functionally, it is exactly the same as the previous site associated with the Gmail link. However, in this case, we have a bit more capability. First of all, the new meeting button will allow us to essentially perform tasks similar to what we had previously. We also can enter a meeting code at this screen and participate in a meeting that we either have created previously or have been invited to. If we click to start the meeting process, we're going to see we have three options. Upon clicking New Meeting, we will see two options that are very similar to what we already discussed and a new approach to scheduling meetings via Google Calendar. The first two options are exactly the same as what we have discussed from the Gmail screen. To create a meeting that we will participate in later, and to create a meeting that we will participate in immediately. And then the third option is to create a meeting via Google Calendar. And the main difference, as we will see, is that when we create a meeting for later, we merely have a code that we will distribute to the various participants who will then employ it when we exercise the start of the meeting. Creating a meeting through Google Calendar not only gives it a date, it also gives it a time as well. So that is really adding a little bit more of refinement to the meeting schedule, if you will. Once we click on New Meeting, a new window will appear showing us the three options that we have. Create a meeting for later, start an instant meeting, and schedule a meeting in Google Calendar. As mentioned, the difference between creating a meeting for later and scheduling a Google Calendar is a meeting for later merely has a code, and then we would have to provide the specific information about the date and time. Where scheduling it in Google Calendar, now we already have entered the date and time of the meeting in Google Calendar, which will become available to the participants. As discussed previously, creating a meeting for later means we will create a meeting, be given a meeting code, and then we will end the session. That meeting code will now be distributed via email, via Messenger, however it may be distributed to the various participants, and we will start the meeting at some specific point in time, and everyone will use that code to exit. So in this case, you would click Create a Meeting for Later. The screen will appear showing you the Google Meeting code, which you then would copy into your clipboard. And that's it. You're all done, finished. You now can exit from the screen and proceed to do whatever other work you want, so long as you remember that your clipboard now contains the meeting code and should be saved somewhere that you will be able to retrieve it. Option number 2, start an instant meeting, essentially combines the tasks of creating a meeting and sending emails to the participants. By clicking Start an Instant Meeting, your meeting room will be opened, and you will also get a window that states your meeting is ready, and you could add others. Clicking the Add Others button will bring up a list you can send invites to participate in the meeting you have just opened up. So to restate, start an instant meeting means you're going to see your meeting room open. You're going to get a screen that says your meeting's ready. You're going to get the option to add others, and the email list will appear so that you can invite them. So it is a very smooth transition into an instant meeting that you are now calling and inviting individuals to at this point in time. As you can see, the email that is sent has a join call button on the email, which will allow your participants merely to click that button to join your meeting. So it simplifies the process for your participants in lieu of having to send them a meeting room code. The third option provides us with a new approach to creating a meeting. It opens up Google Calendar and allows us to create, if you will, an event in our Google Calendar that is also a Google meeting. We would enter the information that we normally would on any event that we are creating in our calendar. For example, we would have a title to that. We would have the date and time of that. We would have description of what the meeting is about, and so on. So essentially, in this phase, what we're doing is not only are we creating an entry in Google Calendar, but we also are simultaneously creating a Google meeting. Scheduling a Google meeting through Google Calendar also gives us the opportunity to add guests, participants in our meeting. We can select who they are. A list of emails will appear. We can select those, and when we save, there will be an option for us to go ahead and send them invites or not send them invites. We can do that manually at a later point in time. If we have added invites to our meeting, upon saving the meeting in calendar, the event in calendar, we'll be prompted with a window which will ask us, would we like to send invitations via email or not send invitations? If we press send invitations, emails will then be sent to all of those individuals that we have added as guests to this particular meeting or event in our calendar. Upon clicking save and then send, an email will be sent to all the invited guests. In that email will be the title of the meeting, will be the date and time of the meeting, and will be the meeting code that they will use to enter the meeting. In addition, an entry will be saved in your Google Calendar that you will then be able to use to retrieve meeting information and participate directly from that, make changes, do whatever it is you wish to do. So this is an extremely efficient, convenient approach to create a meeting, and that meeting will be scheduled in your calendar, and all of your guests will be notified. The interesting aspect is if you make revisions to that meeting, updates can be sent to all of the participants as well. So this is a very handy, useful tool. We can also access Google Meetings from the Google App Manager. If you click on the Google's Apps Manager, the 3x3 matrix that you see on various Google screens, a apps screen will appear, and one of those apps in the left-hand corner is Meet. Click on Meet, and you will now get the Google Meet screen that we just discussed with the three various options that you can employ to create meetings. Another approach to creating a Google meeting is directly through Google Calendar. When we create an entry in Google Calendar, we can make that entry, as we have seen, into a Google meeting as well. Creating a Google meeting through Google Calendar is another very straightforward process. To create the Google meeting, what we first do is we create an event in Google Calendar for the date the meeting will take place. Up will appear the typical calendar information that will ask us to enter title, date, time, all of the pertinent information, and we will also see Add Google Meet Video Conferencing. Once we click that, that essentially will now create a Google Meet meeting that will associate with our calendar event. As we previously discussed, we enter the information typical of a meeting or an appointment in our calendar. The title of the event, the date and time of the event. In this case, we also want to save in our clipboard the event information, the meeting room information. And as you can see, it saves a little bit more data because now we know a date and time as well. Once we're done, we can also then, if you will, add guests, as we have stated before. If we have added guests or participants to our meeting in Google Calendar, once we press Save to post to the calendar, we'll then be prompted if we would like to send invitations to those guests we have listed. And we have the option to either don't send, which means we will send them emails separately or invitations separately, or we can go ahead and click send. If we click send, an email will be sent to all of the invited guests or participants, which will show the title of the event or meeting, which will show the date and time, and will also give them the meeting room code that will be used to access the room. In addition to that, upon pressing save, it will also save an entry in our calendar that we now will be able to go back to make revisions, for example, or to even start our meeting. So this is an extremely useful approach to creating Google Meetings through Google Calendar directly. And remember, irrespective of the method in which we employ to create our meetings, it is always best practice to copy and save the meeting room code, the meeting room URL, that not only will we be able to use to access the meeting room we've created, but all of our invited participants will employ to access that same meeting room. Once we have entered our actual meeting room, there are many elements, capabilities, and features that are going to allow us to become effective in delivering the content we wish to deliver in that meeting. Chapter 2, our next video, discusses these features and capabilities. Please review at your leisure. Thank you.